Hello, my friend. Welcome to Speak with Power podcast. I'm Natasha Bazilevych, a business trainer, speaker, and public speaking coach. I teach entrepreneurs and executives all over the world to build confidence, craft their clear message, and deliver it with power. Would you love to master your presentation skills, learn how to speak with persuasion, and get inspiration from powerful speakers all around the globe? Then stay tuned. And don't forget to subscribe. Welcome back to Speak with Power, my dear friends. I am absolutely excited to introduce my not new guest to you because she has been on the show before. And let's welcome again Aurora Winter. Aurora is an award-winning, best-selling author, TV producer, media coach, ghostwriter, and successful serial entrepreneur. Aurora uses her filmmaking expertise and neuroscience to help people make a difference. And she is launching her new books in the series Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse on Kickstarter. Welcome, Aurora.
It's so great to be back on with you, Natasha. I always love your energy, and I'm looking forward to helping the listeners learn more about AI, learn more about marketing, and learn more about Kickstarter, which who knows, they might want to do a Kickstarter.
Absolutely. Yes. This is something that maybe a lot of people don't even consider. Like I didn't really,
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about marketing, but I never really thought that Kickstarter could actually be the option. So we'll definitely dive into that. And I know we talked about, just 1 second. So we talked about communication before. I wanted to say this to people. If you want, you guys can go back and listen to Aurora's episode on neuroscience of communication. But today we will dive deeper into how you can take that message that you're creating or the book or a project or any kind of program and you market it. And so that's why we will talk about Kickstarter as well and how you can use AI for that. So welcome again, Aurora, and tell us, I know that we already talked about your story, but if you could remind people what was in your life that really inspired you for maybe this particular project that you're doing right now, and for something that we will be talking about today specifically. Like, is there something that happened in your life?
Well, I just love how books can make a difference. And there's been so many times in my life where I've been deeply moved or even changed the whole trajectory of my life because of reading a book. And the reason I wrote this fantasy series, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, really started when I was only 9 years old and I read C.S. Lewis's book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I was just enchanted to be transported to another place and time with a book. A whole book was like, it was like opening a portal into another world. And so I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if I could open a portal for young adults and readers really of any age and transport them to another place and time. And I started writing it during COVID when, my goodness, we were all so stressed. And I thought, people need entertainment as well as education. And I can't think of a more valuable skill than to encourage anyone to read, of any age. But these books appeal to young adults, so ages 12 and up, or if you've got a precocious reader, maybe a little younger than 12. So they're wholesome, they're fun, and they're very full of action, sort of like a Percy Jackson. I've got a background in film and television, so there's lots of action. But that's what inspired me. I wanted to give that gift to others.
That is so exciting. Well, you said you have background in film and television. This is actually another interesting thing that I might want to ask you about because now,
Okay.
yes, and I remember you sharing about this before that's your background. But now I am writing a book, and that's why I will be asking you about how we can market our books in the
Awesome.
best way
Oh,
possible.
good. I want to hear.
Yeah, and so, well, I finished it basically, but now I got this new idea of adding another layer to it of how we can define and develop and demonstrate our speaking energies, also using the example of TV, film, and television, just because I'm taking acting classes, as you
Yeah, that's
know,
great. So it's
and
a
some of my other.
nonfiction book?
It's a nonfiction, it's like
Okay, so
self-help
this is
book.
perfect for us to talk about Kickstarter and AI and marketing. I've got a fantasy book that I'm launching on Kickstarter, but we can talk about both. So I learned so many things about Kickstarter, and I just posted something on LinkedIn, 10 takeaways so far from doing a Kickstarter. And what really stands out to me is most people don't understand that it's not do Kickstarter instead of whatever you'd normally do. It's an additional. But it can be fun to do the Kickstarter first as a launch, and it's a community that is very supportive of creative projects. But what's most fun about it, I think, is that you can connect more with followers or potential followers, and you can offer them many tiers. It's kind of like McDonald's. Would you like fries with that? Or would you like to supersize that? So what happens is if you sell a book, say on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, you sell one book. But on Kickstarter, you can offer them the book, and then you could say, would you like training to go with that? Would you like an event to go with that? Would you like a video course to go with that? Would you like a signed hardcover book to go with that? So for nonfiction projects like yours, you already have a training and speaking program. You could offer that. A lot of Kickstarters have made for nonfiction books, say the one that comes to mind made $500,000. John Lee Dumas made $500,000 selling basically a workbook with blank pages. I exaggerate, but he made $500,000 because he offered for various tiers from $2,000 to $10,000. I think the book was maybe $50 or something like that. So he offered, a day with him.
Yeah.
Or being interviewed on his podcast or various things. With Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, I am getting the chance to offer, well, would you like the ebook version, or would you like the extra special collector's ebook version with extra digital art? Or would you like a hardcover book that's signed and autographed with your name and the dedications? Or maybe you would like to be a philanthropist and donate books to your local Boys and Girls Club, or to a school, or to a library, or to a book club, or to a sports team. Maybe you want to donate to your family, your friends, or the above groups, not just books, but journals or magnets or posters or canvas beautiful artwork. Because I'm so excited to help people with literacy. I'm going to just rant for a second. So literacy does come from reading, but also from writing. So I thought, well, journals to go with this inspiring series of books makes sense. And then some people are very visual. So who doesn't need an extra fridge magnet, right?
Of course.
So we have fridge magnets with the wonderful characters, and then there's posters and even canvas art. There's merch. So for fiction, for anybody who's listening, who's thinking of doing a Kickstarter for fiction, you can add all this kind of merch. But for you, with nonfiction, you can add your courses, your training, your consulting, your one-on-one, whatever you normally would do, you can offer it on Kickstarter. And the result is, like, I've been working, well, Kickstarter's live now, but I was working to get 100 followers before it launched. But the data shows that if you can bring 25 followers, you have 80% success ratio. So put a bit of effort into it. Like I've been, spreading the word for a few months leading up to it, but I've got over 100 followers now. And so Kickstarter, they don't promise this, but they seem to match the number of followers that you bring, and that creates momentum. So
could you explain it a little bit? From what I remember, Kickstarter used to be, at least, I think maybe it's changing now. So it used to be a platform where someone, when they want to launch something, they create and then they invite people to come and buy. And it's almost like this is the beginning of the project. It's almost like it. And now it sounds like it's a platform where people have followers. And so I think it changed. Tell us, okay, is it like social media? Is it kind of like something?
Well, I think you're remembering it about right. Although, of course, everything evolves. So the distinction of Kickstarter is that it's usually for a very short window. So my Kickstarter is only running for less than 3 weeks, and then it's over. It's done.
Okay.
But the difference between, say, being on Kickstarter or say being on Amazon, with Kickstarter, you should have proof of concept. You should have, like in my case, my books got great reviews. It was a Reader's Choice winner. It won the American Fiction Award. I have a sample chapter up there. I've written 9 other books. So there's proof of concept. So Kickstarter is not ideal if you just have an idea. And the wonderful thing about Kickstarter is you don't have to deliver the day after. So if you could raise money for a film, you could raise money for an event, you could raise money for a physical product that takes a while to create, and you might need $10,000 to make it. So you can do that. In my case, I didn't set a high minimum because the book's already done. I already paid for the cover designer, I already paid for the proofreader. I'm doing it whether or not,
Yeah.
Kickstarter comes through. But you don't have to do it that way. If you need $10,000 to launch your event or your product or service, you can set that minimum. Then you either get all the funding or none of it. But again, to emphasize it, it's kind of nice that you can get in my case, with hardcover books, I know how many orders I have, so then I can order in bulk and get the best quality of hardcover book. Whereas if I order print on demand one at a time, it's a higher cost and a lower quality. But by the time the Kickstarter wraps, which is going to wrap in about a week from now, I'll know exactly how many hardcover books people want, and then I can get the best price and the best quality. So obviously I want to get as many orders as possible. So to spread the word and spread the excitement, but also to add more value.
That makes sense. Okay, so then I do remember, right? But it's a good idea. So you actually will know, and this is what I could do in my case. You know how many people want the hardcover, or basically like the published version of it. Because I was thinking I will first publish it digitally, and I will offer people the digital version, like on Kindle or something like this. But then because I will have to spend some money on actually publishing the book.
Well, Kickstarter should be your first stop. So Kickstarter is the first window. Kickstarter, people like to have exclusive. They like to get it before it comes out everywhere else. So I wouldn't launch the ebook first elsewhere. I would offer the ebook on on Kickstarter first. And give the people a few sample chapters that they could read. And then you don't have to create the hardcover book, but you can offer it on Kickstarter.
Even
if nobody buys it, you don't need to make it.
Yes.
But you might find 1,000 people order it, and then you can order, order in bulk and get a better quality hardcover book or softcover book, whatever you decide to do. So it's a fun way to also it kind of like social media, it incentivizes people to share with their friends. So for example, with my Kickstarter, people know what they're going to get if they have pledged to get 2 hardcover books that are autographed by the author. They're going to get that, and they're going to get their name also in the front of the book on the dedication page. So that's a special perk that can't be offered anywhere else. Or there's even an option they can name a character. So that's something that can't be done later. But the reason why people especially like to share on Kickstarter is because you have stretch goals. You can set the stretch goals however you want. But for example, in my case, as I reach different tiers, everybody gets extra stuff for no extra cost. So there's a little built-in incentive to share it with your friends. And because the Kickstarter is less than 3 weeks, it's very short. So jump on over to magicmysteryandthemultiverse.com right now, because the window of opportunity is running out. And that's the other thing that's fun with Kickstarter. Fun, but higher pressure, is that you just have this short window. But that gives people a deadline. They need to invest in whatever they would like and get it now because it's going away. And with my Kickstarter, there's various things that are exclusive that are only available on Kickstarter and won't ever be offered anywhere else ever. Like naming a character, or getting your name on the dedication page, or getting, special collector's editions. So you could do a lot of these things too.
I love it. I'm writing it down. On the dedication page. I never thought of that. Okay.
And the other thing to do is Kickstarter is really a community. So I recommend, like I've invested in about 24 projects now, to just be part of the community. It's like any community. You want to be part of the community. So part of why I thought of being on the dedication page is I saw another Kickstarter that was successful, did that. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
And that Kickstarter also had a bit of merch. I'm like, I should add merch. So, one thing leads to another.
Yeah, that's how we get ideas. We see what other people do, and then we see how we can change it and apply it.
Exactly.
Like nothing is new under the sun. And what else do we say? That it's creative plagiarism, right? So it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Well, creativity is really taking one idea from here and another idea from there, and then putting them together. And that, and also there's nothing new under the sun, and yet your voice, your
Makes it
passion
new. Yes.
makes it new.
Yeah,
Exactly
yeah.
right.
Because
Exactly
you
right.
combine those two ideas, but then you make it yours. And
Exactly. So
adding by adding your voice. And that's how we make it all new and
yeah,
interesting.
so like I can even acknowledge like Magic Mystery in the Multiverse. The second book is called The Secret Multiverse Academy, but they're all in the Magic Mystery in the Multiverse series. Like it's a little bit Harry Potter, it's a little bit Doctor Who, it's got a little bit of the Wizard of Oz, and I'm sure there's a shout out indirectly to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and other books that have inspired me over the
Yeah.
years. But then it's also got, it's got Aurora's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Your
worldview,
voice. Yes.
optimistic and encouraging.
Exactly. And I'm sure that those characters you added different layers and voices to them and personalities from your life, from people you know, or
I
from
love the
like
characters.
some
So
yes.
Anna, who is the lead character, like she's about 13. She's from Los Angeles. She wants to be an actress. You're
Mm.
taking acting classes, but you don't want to be an
Yes.
actress. She wants to
No.
be an actress, and
Yes.
she's an optimist and an athlete. And her younger brother Zachary is the complete opposite. He's a pessimist. He's recovering from cancer, so he's immunocompromised. He's a little bit like Eeyore. He always sees, the cup is half empty and she sees it as half full. So there's a fun
Mm.
dynamic between them, and they're bickering as teenagers or youth do. But the underlying message, which is in my heart, is that what really matters is love and family and friendship. And even if your
Mm.
younger brother annoys you, you don't ditch him in the multiverse and stuff like that, right? So I think,
Mm-hmm.
people who are looking for fun, fast-paced action, but with a good heart, will
Yeah.
really like Magic Mystery and the Multiverse, will enjoy the whole series. People who like, Percy Jackson or Good Omens or The Lion, the Witch, the Wardrobe, or these
Mm-hmm.
kinds of Terry Pratchett would be another example. So like a fun romp, but
Mm-hmm.
not too dystopian. So it's not like really sultry, sexy, steamy, spicy. It's not horror like Stephen King. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not a picture book. It's not for 6-year-olds, even though there are a lot of art. Go, people, you should go check it out.
Go check it out. Yeah.
Magic Mystery in the Multiverse.com. My son, Yale Winter, has done a lot of beautiful artwork. He got inspired reading the
Mm-hmm.
book, and then I got inspired looking at his art. I'm like, oh, I can fine tune the character to go with that picture. So
I
it's
know.
been a fun iterative process.
And I saw those pictures, those the illustrations, and they're beautiful. They're gorgeous. So my
They
friends
are
definitely,
gorgeous, aren't
definitely
they?
go check them out. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm sure. Like I can just see how much fun you had while writing it because you talking about you have so much passion for your books.
I love it. Yeah, it's so much fun. And it's kind of cool because my son is actually not a big reader, but he's got really into the world because he's doing the art.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's put the art on TikTok. My TikTok handle is Aurora Fantasy Books. And so we've got a different a little mini story, every day
Uh-huh.
going out on TikTok. And it's, creativity feeds on itself. So I'm excited to share this world with other people and think that they will really get a lot of value in it. Yeah. But what other
Amazing. So well, you already started talking about marketing. You're sharing with us how you're marketing your book. And so going to social media, you are on
yeah.
TikTok and basically you guys, and I'm sure you have help for that. You are releasing something every day.
Yeah, so marketing needs whatever your project is, whatever your business is, whatever your book is, it needs marketing.
Yes.
So the good thing about doing a Kickstarter is I knew I had a deadline. By July
Mm.
1st, I had to get all the marketing assets together and I had to tell people about it.
Mm-hmm.
So leading up about 3 months in advance, I started doing podcast interviews. I asked people, would they mind airing the podcast? To be honest with the listeners, we're recording this before the Kickstarter is live, but it's going to be dropped and aired when the Kickstarter is live. So, but the other thing is I started working on TikTok because I thought TikTok was perfect for fantasy. We
Mm-hmm.
also do a little bit on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and X, but TikTok really is perfect for fantasy. For your nonfiction book, you might want to be more Facebook
Mm-hmm.
and
LinkedIn, probably.
LinkedIn, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But TikTok and Instagram are very visual. So with my
Yes.
son's visual skills. And TikTok is very oriented towards young adult fantasy fiction, not nonfiction. Anyway, so
Yes.
then this process started happening with my son and I. He's like, okay, write a story. So to put on TikTok. And I gave him a long ass story. He's like, oh, Mom, you don't understand. That's too long. That's too many words. I can't turn that into images. I need da 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 da. I'm like, oh, okay, I understand what you need now. And so then we had this back and forth. And in the end, like if you go to Aurora Fantasy Books on TikTok, you will see a lot of things have got like 3 or 5 images, just a little slideshow with a little story. And then it ends on what's going to happen next, a little cliffhanger. And people have been loving it. We're getting thousands of views and people are saving and following. I'm like, oh, that's working. And then the more images he made, then he suggested, why don't we do a store? I'm like, why don't we do a store? These are great images. They would look so good on a magnet or a
Yeah,
poster
that's
or a
awesome.
journal. So, but you know what this illustrates is when you get in action and you're excited about what you're doing, then it feeds, you get more and more momentum.
Ideas. Yes. So you said, and I wrote it down 3 months in advance, you would
Yeah.
go on podcast and you would start talking about it. Anything else that we need to know about timeline?
Yes. So Kickstarter also requires you to set up quite a lot of details. You have to have usually you need to have a video. In fact, 80% of successful Kickstarters have a video. So you need a little video. So you could go watch mine at magicmysteryinthemultiverse.com, which I recorded a dozen times before I got one that was good
Of
enough.
course, we'll all
And
do
then,
that.
and then my son said, well, it would be good if you were like a foot farther away from the camera. And I did it again, but no, the one that was too close was, better energy. Because, you do the same thing 12 times, you run out of zoom.
Oh.
Anyway, I digress. So you need to set up the whole page and then Kickstarter has to approve it. But once they've approved it, you can still add in more tiers. You can change the cost, you can change the shipping. And then a Kickstarter has to approve it again when you're ready to go live. So you need a window of time. The thing that trips up most people is the shipping. So what I decided to do is make most of the shipping for the hardcover books free in Canada and the US because I think people have gotten used to that. So that's one option. And then we add shipping if it's outside of the US or Canada, or we add shipping if it's the add-on things. So that's something to be aware of. Your video doesn't have to be, movie quality. It's fine to just be authentic. I've looked at a number of very successful Kickstarters and I'm like, really? That was their video? The camera is not even the right way around, and the lighting sucks, but that's fine. So, and the main thing is to just share, like keep sharing. Because I think, it's not enough to tell people once a month or even once a week. Probably you need to be on social media once a day talking about what you're up to.
Yeah.
So,
It needs to be, and there needs to be consistency about it.
there needs to be consistency. So one of the ways we were going to talk about AI. So for example, one of the ways I have been using AI to help me with my marketing, I made myself a list of the top 14 things I learned so far from Kickstarter. And then it's the end of the day, and I am a writer, but I've been writing since 5 a.m. in the morning. So I just loaded those 14 things that I learned into ChatGPT, and I'm like, take this list and give me the top 10 and write it in like an email. So I did that, and I sent that email out to my followers, top 10 things I learned from Kickstarter. And that, made it happen in half the time or 1/10 the time because I would have agonized over the words. And I think that's a really good use of ChatGPT. I don't use it for writing my books, but to use it to send out an email. And then, we've got the top 10 things I learned from Kickstarter so far. That became an email to my list and also like an article on LinkedIn, right? So that's a good use, I think.
Yeah. Well, does it reflect your voice though? So when AI wrote this for you, would your followers know that that was
Well, I
Aurora?
loaded in the 14 things that I'd learned. So that was already my content. And then it just tightened it to 10. And then I tweak it a bit. to
Okay.
make sure that I always tweak it or
Okay.
change
Okay.
it. Because yeah, sometimes it misses the mark. But I think the way to use it is like you would use an assistant,
Mm-hmm.
an
Mm-hmm.
executive assistant who's not always right.
So they would write it. Okay. So and then you just go back and see what you want to. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because a lot of times what I don't like about ChatGPT, I use it for brainstorming, I use it for
Yeah,
getting ideas, and then I choose what I want. But for
yeah,
it to actually write my posts or my emails or my content, I feel
yeah,
like it's not my voice. But
yeah.
actually what you're saying is to have it write something and then I go in and I add it or I change, tweak
Well,
and
how
make
long
it
of
mine,
prompts are
right?
you giving it? Like I give Chat GPT really long
Long
prompts,
ones. Okay, so mine are
like
not long.
200
No.
word prompts. I give kick-ass long prompts.
Okay, no, I just give like one phrase. Like, hey, write this and that, like one sentence, two sentences. Yes, so that's not enough.
Yeah, so this will be a breakthrough for you, my dear, and for anyone listening who has this issue with Chat GPT. You can you can prompt actually in some AIs, I've heard, I haven't used this yet in Claude. You can upload 10 novels
Uh-huh.
worth of a prompt. So if you were the author of 10 novels and you wanted an 11th, you could say, take all this world and these characters. This is the background information and then da 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 da. So what I do with Chat is I tell it who it is, like I say, so for that 10 things I learned from Kickstarter so far, I tell it who it is. You are an internet marketing expert for authors. Write
Mm-hmm.
a short email sharing the top 10 things I learned from Kickstarter that will be useful to my email list. Here are 14 things I've learned. Pick the top 10 and give it back to me in an email form.
I
So
love it.
then it's quite a long, so then the 14 things that I learned, they were just kind of notes in my note thing. So there was kind of rambly and it made it, they made it fine. And then there were 2 points that it missed the mark and I just changed those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you do it
But
on the
it's giving
computer.
my content. Yeah, I do it on the computer.
Yes, because see, I've been doing it on my phone. I need to actually start using it on my computer. Then I can upload more. I can just upload my book so that it gets my language and then just
Yeah.
say like da 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 da, like change or whatever. Give me something, this, and that.
Yeah. I had so
Okay.
much grief with it before I learned to really give it long, long prompts.
Mm.
Really long
Because
prompts.
then it's learn because it will learn your language. Then it will actually take your stuff and it will start actually writing like
And then
you would
also
maybe.
start a new thread every time you change the topic because it only remembers maybe a few iterations. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to start a new thread, if you're writing emails to go to your list versus posts to go on LinkedIn or something like that, that will help
Mm-hmm.
it start
Mm-hmm.
over, get like refreshed.
Okay, wow, that's amazing.
So just coming back to Kickstarter for you, the other thing that's cool for your project or for anybody considering Kickstarter is you can set the minimum threshold to cover your costs of a proofreader for your book, to cover your costs of a professional cover design. Like, so you could set a minimum, say, of $5,000. In my case, I already have paid for the book cover design. I've already paid for the proofreader, and I've already written the book.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I didn't need to set that, but that is a lovely thing with it. So the Secret Multiverse Academy is coming out no matter what happens with Kickstarter, but exclusively on Kickstarter, certain things. So that is something else to know and be aware
Mm-hmm.
of and take advantage of. So that can reduce your fear, especially for projects like, you need a certain amount of money to create a beautiful hardcover book, to
Mm-hmm.
get
Mm-hmm.
the cover designed, or many projects are more expensive than that, like shooting a movie or creating a physical, like a backpack or something. But people have raised like millions of dollars for backpacks and
Hmm.
bras and buckles and watches and shoes and all kinds of things.
So then, okay, you create all of that on Kickstarter, and then you have like I have to promote it everywhere on social media, or there's a community, there are people on Kickstarter that will be able to see it, kind of like Amazon. Like Amazon, I know sells our books.
It's, yeah, I think it's much better than Amazon because there's such a short window
Uh-huh.
on Kickstarter. I think it's much more likely that you'll build some momentum on Kickstarter, but you do have to prime the pump and bring those initial apparently 25 followers
Okay.
is enough to get 80% success ratio. But then you need to make sure that, you're offering something that people want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in
Yes,
your
perfect.
case, or I guess in my case too, but in the case of nonfiction books, like you could offer one-on-one consulting and coaching. Like I do coaching and mentoring and media coaching, but I didn't think it was appropriate to add with my fantasy book series. So that's not an upsell. So with the fantasy, it's the posters and magnets
Mm.
and journals and fun things like that. But a lot of people offer very high upsells, like thousands of dollars, like $10,000 or $2,000. So
Yeah.
you could make a lot of money even giving the books away for free on Kickstarter. Don't give
Yes,
the
and
books away
then
for free on Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a community that likes to support creators, and they're not looking for a deal. They're looking to support you.
okay. Mm-hmm.
So one thing a lot of people do, like Michael J. Sullivan, for example, if you back his Kickstarters for his fantasy books, he puts in the acknowledgments at the end of the book, he puts the name of everybody who funded, who
Mm.
helped to make the project real.
Nice. So these dedication pages that you're talking about, that would be at the end of the book. It's not at the beginning. It's
There's two things I'm talking about. So in my case, there's a dedication page at the beginning of the book. And for
mm-hmm.
people who support my Kickstarter on Magic Mystery and the Multiverse.com for over a certain value will get acknowledged in the dedication at the very front of the book. And not just in the copy of the book that they have, but in all of the copies of the book thereafter. So for
Mm.
example, Natasha, if you supported the launch at a certain level, it will always say, and a special thanks to Natasha, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the front of the book. The back of the book is acknowledgments, but the front of the book
It's
dedication page is
dedication.
very special.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be too many names on that. But the back of the book, there's usually an acknowledgments page. And in mine, I thank my son, I thank my proofreader, I thank my early readers, I thank
Mm-hmm.
people who've made a difference. And I will also thank the people who supported. If the Kickstarter reaches a certain threshold overall value, I will thank everybody in the dedication page. But I decided I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to thank everybody in the dedication page unless I got a certain threshold, because
Yes.
it's time consuming to change the book.
Yeah, and it makes sense. No, I mean it has to be special, so you can't just
Yeah.
just say everybody, but you make it special. Well, we talked. There is one more thing that I really would love to talk about because we discussed amazing technical things about
Okay.
Kickstarter and about AI and ChatGPT, which I love. But also, I wanted to refer to your book, which is called "Turn Words into Wealth," and we talked about this before.
Yeah.
And so that's another way of marketing or basically bringing your message to the audiences and making it popular, whether that's a book or anything. And you hear it's I would say it's charisma, but it's more than that. So you talk about neediness here, and I just love
Ah,
how you talk about your secret superpower, and then you're saying so. It's critical that you deliver your message with an energy that is the opposite of neediness. And we all know how it's just disgusting when we are needy, when wherever, like in relationships, we're needy, or in business,
yeah.
we're needy, or when we look for clients, we're just needy, needy. And you're talking about how it needs to be the opposite of neediness. And,
Yeah.
and you're saying the spirit of generosity and helpfulness. And also, then you talk about charisma. So, this is just so on the topic for us. And it's different, it's not technical, it's more about our
Energy.
personality, energy. Yes. So could you talk about this a little bit more for our audience of how
Oh,
you see
Natasha.
this as the opposite? What is the opposite of neediness?
And Natasha, I love it that you noticed that and that you're highlighting that for everybody, because I think it is so easy to, if you're not mindful, if you're tired, if you haven't had a good sleep, or you haven't drunk enough water, or eaten the right food, or you just had an argument with somebody, to slip into neediness and then not ever reset.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's super important to know, whatever your belief system is. My belief system is that we are all divine creatures. And
Mm-hmm.
when we shift into remembering that we are divinely created and that we have a creative birthright. I was talking to my brother this morning, and he was like, yeah, but what if my project doesn't make money? And I'm like, well, that's making money is one paradigm, but you are made in the image and likeness of God.
Yeah.
And does that mean your nose and your ears. I don't think so. I mean, I think personally that the image and likeness of God means you're a creator.
Yes.
So I think it's everybody's birthright to create, whether you create a home or a garden or a meal or a happy family or a business or a book. The creative part of us needs to be honored.
Mm-hmm.
And the business part, the making money part, that's the paradigm of the world. That's the paradigm of Rome, right? Given to Rome. So we don't need to put that first. You cannot have two masters.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
getting quite
You're quoting the
quite
Bible.
I'm getting yes, and I'm not a Bible
I
thumper or
love
born
it.
again Christian, but I think it's important to remind ourselves of what really matters.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
My husband died suddenly when he was 33 and our son was 4. And that
mm,
reminded me of what really matters. What do I want my life to stand for? How can I make a difference? How can I leave a legacy? What is meaningful? Paying the mortgage is not really meaningful, but writing a book that might inspire some youth, that is meaningful to me.
yeah.
Anyway, back to neediness. When when anybody shows up on a podcast as a speaker or looking for a client, and your very first thought is, I need X dollars to pay the mortgage or the rent, it's easy to be needy. But when you fill up your well and you remember that your divine birthright is to be a creator and to be a contribution and to make a difference and to leave a legacy, and that
Mm-hmm,
exactly how that might unfold is really not your business anyway, and to just trust,
mm-hmm,
then you go the extra mile. And instead of being like the energy of, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I can't, blah, 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 you have the overflowing energy of, I'd love to support you. How can I help you? How can I make a difference? And that is
mm-hmm,
so attractive. Like when I'm on a podcast, I am wanting to contribute to you, Natasha, but I'm also thinking, who's listening? Maybe I can say something that would make a difference for them.
yeah.
But then I just trust, the inspiration. So I'm being authentic. Like if I had been a marketing person, I might not have been quite so authentic about my actual beliefs, but I was prompted to share that because I thought it might help somebody.
Yeah.
It might make a difference. And so when we go the extra mile and, leave a review for Natasha's podcast because it made a difference for you, you're
Mm-hmm.
already showing up like somebody who has more than enough. You have more than enough, and you can give 2 minutes of your time to leave Natasha a 5-star review on her podcast. She's showing up. She's giving you all this energy. Why not leave a 5-star review for the podcast? It's
Thank you.
one way. It's one way that the listeners can show
Mm-hmm.
up with that energy of charisma, that energy of abundance, and then just trust that will come around.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. So that, and you talk about this, it's coming from the from abundance and not scarcity mindset. And then that makes
Exactly
such
right.
a difference. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly
Oh,
right.
wow,
I
this
love it that you pointed that out.
yes, that was also in your book. Thank you so much. Well, this is beautiful, and I know that we can talk more and more about this, but before I ask you again that question, because maybe now the answer will be different at the end, let's